Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of the day it is, wherever you find yourself. Hello to you and welcome back to my channel. I am Cynthia and thank you again for joining me on my channel. Thank you to all those that have subscribed. I love the love and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to my channel. Looking forward to what we're going to be talking about today. So as promised, I am going to be sharing my courtship journey, my challenges. So important to talk about these things because there are many times that I wish someone had some of these conversations with me before I got married, someone that was in the same position that I was. And so I'm going to be doing this for that one person that needs this. So hello girl, this is for you, or guy, or whoever you may be. So today we're going to be talking about my courtship challenges. So obviously, I can't mention every single thing because there's just not enough time for that. But I will be talking about the major challenges, the ones that every couple is most likely to face. So before I get into that, let me just make a distinction between what courtship is versus engagement. A courtship is when two people who are ready for marriage get together in a relationship to get to know each other, to eventually make the decision to get married. The willingness of marriage is there, and so they're hopeful that the outcome would be marriage. Whereas with engagement, I've already made the promise to get married to this person. So it's a more final thing. It's a more serious thing. Not taking away from the seriousness of courtship, but with engagement, it's a little bit harder to get out of. But with courtship is you're trying to see if this person is right for you to make a conscious decision. So courtship is great for helping you to make a conscious decision as to whether you want to spend the rest of your life with this particular person. In that it also keeps you away from, if you do it the right way, it keeps you away from sexual intimacy before you're married. And when you are away from sexual intimacy before you are married, it helps you to make a conscious decision, because when you get physically involved with somebody, it clouds your judgment, and so you think you love them when you really don't. Anyway, so that leads me to our number one challenge, which was physical attraction. Physical attraction in itself is not a challenge. The challenge is when your body feels emotions and feelings that come together with physical attraction, because you are attracted to this person, you want to get down and dirty. So it's really hard to maintain the sacredness. It's really difficult to abstain from sexual intimacy when you are really in love with this person. Let's not lie to each other. It's a very difficult thing to do, and as long as you are a human being, you are going to feel that. But at the end of the day, it's about you, and it's about how much you really want your marriage to be blessed by God. And so it's important to set goals. We had to set goals like, listen, the two of us are going to do it this way. We both decided that we're going to do godly dating. We're going to be in courtship and then engagement and then the wedding day. And that's when we're going to do the things that make the things to be done. So it's so important to stay away from any kind of sexual activity. Firstly, because it's forbidden by God in the Bible. And secondly, because it clouds your judgment, and which defeats the purpose of courtship, because the purpose of courtship is to get to know this person so that you can make a conscious decision. And when you sleep with somebody before you get married to them, you think you're in love when you may not be in love. It sort of clouds your judgment, and is that attraction to that person that shouldn't be there in the first place when it's not supposed to be there. So yeah, our challenge was physical attraction. So how we overcame that was we spent a lot of time in church activities. We were both leaders, so we got involved in a lot of church activities. We were happy doing that because we love the work of God, and we were happy doing that, and it kept us busy. And most of the time we were so tired from it. Like when your mind is tired, there's not enough space in your head to think about sexual stuff, and so you don't really go there. And so it keeps you safe. So we did that one day at a time, guys. It's not easy. So you have to take it one day at a time until the big day. We also spent a lot of time out in public. And someone asked me about this on Instagram, and I answered this. This is actually my answer to that. We spent a lot of time in public, because when you are in public, you don't have time to be thinking about getting down and dirty, because you're not supposed to, and therefore you won't, because it's in public. But not that you're doing it for the people, you're doing it for God. And that brings me to my third point of how we overcame physical attraction, was that we really were invested in God. We still are invested in God. And so it just feels wrong to just want to go against God's will for you and God's word. It just feels wrong. Doing that will just bring so many curses upon your life and your marriage. And you don't want that negative energy, the guilt, none of that, because it's just not worth it. Trust me, it's just not worth it. It's better to just, the feeling and the joy that comes with knowing that you have done this and you've accomplished this and you got married and you get to do the things that you need to get done on the wedding day. It's just beautiful. It's an amazing experience. And I hope that everyone gets to experience that. It's just so beautiful. So I would advise every Christian couple to take that route, because it's not worth a few minutes of pleasure and then you throw away what could be so beautiful. With our courtship journey, it was so complicated because other people normally get courtship and then get engaged. We had both. But for us, we didn't know each other for a long time before we got engaged. In fact, I would say our courtship and engagement were like concurrent, because he kind of just told me straight up, listen, I want to marry you. And I kind of knew that he was the one because we got a lot of confirmation from God. But like the attraction was so deep in that we actually had to take some time apart to understand whether it is love or infatuation, because when emotions are involved, again, don't think clearly. And so we had to take some time apart to really understand, am I just in love with the idea of them? Do I just find them physically attractive? Are they good for me? Do I really want to spend the rest of my life with them? Because I had certain qualities that I wrote down and he had certain qualities that he needed his wife to be. And so we had to think about those things and really involve God, get confirmation from God. And that's how we then made the decision that, okay, yeah, we can get married. It didn't take us long. For some people, it takes longer than what it took for us. For us, we knew in a couple of months. But then again, it's up to you as an individual. However, I will say that it's not advised to be in courtship for longer than a year. Number one, when you are with someone for a year, believe me, you will know whether you want to marry them or not. And number two, when you are in courtship and you're focusing on not sleeping together, it's important to get married or just break it off, because if it's been longer than a year, because at the end of the day, you are physically attracted to each other, and how long can you really hold it off for? I mean, we're only human, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you fall into a situation that you're not supposed to fall into. I'm talking about physical intimacy. So it's important to also just check the time frame of your courtship so that it's not too long. We were engaged in courtship for like a year. I will continue using the terms interchangeably in the video because, like I said, we did it concurrently. We were in courtship and engaged at the same time. It doesn't happen a lot, but that's what happened with us because we kind of knew from the get-go. But I would say courtship is important because it helps you to understand the kind of person that you want to get married to. It helps you to make a conscious decision. We eventually realized that it is love because of the confirmation from God, because of the things we had to take time to understand, the emotions that we felt, that it wasn't just physical attraction, that it was deeper than that. And my qualities of an ideal husband, he had them. The qualities that he wanted in his ideal wife, I had them. And so that also helped us to make a conscious decision. So it also helps to have a list of qualities so that when you are overwhelmed by emotion, you can always go back to that list and say, okay, look, I feel this way, but like, does this person have this? Because this list essentially will show me whether this person is good for me or not. And at the end of the day, we know ourselves really well, and we know what kind of a person will be good for us or not. And so when you go back to your list, your emotions aside, and you look at that list, then it helps you to make a conscious decision, which is why courtship is there, because with courtship, you're not allowed to sleep together. And when you don't sleep together, it also helps you to make a conscious decision because you're not then overwhelmed by all these emotions. That sexual intimacy can actually just mess up and cloud your judgment, that is. So it's important to have that list, and so then you put your emotions aside and you look at that list, especially when you are in courtship, because then in courtship you're not sleeping together, and so your judgment is also not then clouded, and then you get to make a positive and a conscious decision about yourself and about the person that you want to get married to, because it is up to you. Another challenge that we faced was that people always had opinions. Like everywhere you go, whatever you do, whatever journey you embark on, whatever it is that you choose to do, people are always going to have opinions about you, about your situation, and about what they think about your situation. And so it's always going to be there. But the hardest thing is people actually having opinions about your relationship and about the person that you choose. So people had opinions And some people actually, it's funny that people would actually, in as much as they have opinions, they actually voice their opinions to you. And it's another thing that we just have to accept as life. It's people, it's life, and life goes on. So what we did was we told ourselves that no negative opinion is going to affect our relationship in a negative way. And in as much as people had opinions and they would voice them to me or to him, we just cut them all out, and we said we're going to get to know each other from each other's point of view and not from anybody else's, because we deserve that as people. And everybody in life grows, and who I was yesterday is not who I am today. Who he was yesterday is not who he is today. We grow. Every day is a day of growth. And so it's so important to get to know each other based on each other's personal point of view, as opposed to what other people think about you or about the situation. And now here we are, happily married. Thank God that God gave us the wisdom to really just focus on each other and each other's opinions about each other and about our situation. Of course, not blocking out those that love you and those that have the good things, those that are close to you and those that have your best interests at heart. It's important to then take and listen to those opinions as well. But at the end of the day, it's about you, and it's about what's good for you, and it's about your happiness. Courtship is such an important thing. And another challenge that we faced was to sort of get to convince our parents or those ones that raised us, because at the end of the day, every parent wants the best for their child, okay? And so I really don't blame any parent that is hard on their child when it comes to the partners they choose to get married to. Courtship is a serious thing, and when you are in courtship, you are then accountable to your parents, to your spiritual leaders. We had a lot of convincing to do. I had to have his back. He had to have mine similarly. So it's important that as a couple that is in courtship, you already learn about defending one another and standing up for one another and portraying the good things that you have as people, because your parents want the best for you and those that you are accountable to want the best for you. So it's important they see the other person's side from your point of view as well. So it's important to make that known. So what courtship really does is that it keeps you and it holds you accountable, because you are accountable to your spiritual leaders, you're accountable to those around you, you're accountable to your parents if they are involved, or which they should be involved. And so what that does is it just stops anybody from playing, or it deters rather anybody from playing with anybody's feelings, because most of the time we think we love someone and then we don't, and then people get hurt. So with courtship, it's like more of a controlled environment. It really makes you think about whether you really want to mess around with this person. That if you are in courtship, then you are serious. It shows that you are a serious person. You take this relationship seriously. Similarly, the person as well that you see as your potential spouse. So it's important with courtship. If you are tired of being played around with, if you're tired with just being lied to, I would suggest that courtship would be the kind of relationships that you get into. Obviously, you shouldn't be getting into courtship with anybody and just everybody. But if you're done with the dating game, if you're done with playing around, messing around, and you really want to focus on getting married, I would say courtship would be the best route to go, because it's a more controlled relationship, or let me say a more controlled environment where there is accountability. And where there is accountability, there's some level of integrity that the relationship has. And where there's that level of integrity, it's less likely that anybody is just going to mess up with you, or that either of you are just going to play around with the relationship. And so in that way, your feelings are also protected. It's not always that courtship ends up in marriage. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means that you dodged a bullet, because maybe then this person isn't for you. And that's the beauty about courtship. So you get to know that someone is not for you without actually sleeping with him. And so you don't have to go around feeling guilty about yourself, because at the end of the day, you didn't sleep with him and God helped you to figure out whether this person is for you or not. We had all these challenges, but what really helped us was we prayed together and we fought for each other and we stood together, and our love was just held us and kept us together through it all. There was a lot of challenges that we faced, but at the end of the day, we told each other that we matter, our happiness matters, God's opinion about us matters. And that's how we are here right now. It's been an amazing journey. I have written a few articles about relationships, about the challenges in relationships and all that. I'm also working on a lot more articles to post on my blog. So if you are interested, please do check out the link in my description box where I write about mental health and relationships. I'm very passionate about it. Of course, I do YouTube videos to accommodate the audience that is not really into reading. And so I'm here for everyone, basically. But thank you so much for watching this. I am really excited to be giving you more content. I will try to be more consistent as time goes on. The next video is going to be exciting. I'm going to be revealing what I will be talking about on my different social media platforms. So please do check that out. If you want more of this, do check out my website. It's in my description box. I'm here for everybody. Thank you so much for watching again, and talk to you soon.